Hi, and welcome to APA 5 Title Page and Abstract, giving you a sense of what you need to do and how to think about some of these things from a conceptual point of view. Uh, Title Page and Abstract have some unique characteristics compared to the remainder of the paper, but some things are quite consistent with the remainder of the paper. Let's get into it and see what it is. The first thing is to notice that the title page is inherently unique. You still use double spacing for everything on it. This is a little bit counterintuitive for a lot of folks, but that is what is correct. On the title page, there is something called a running head. Now you'll note that in your easy guide and elsewhere, it will tell you student papers don't need a running head. I do want you to do a running head, and that's because, in my view, we're developing y'all as professionals down the line, and knowing how professionals do things is important. And so the running head is on the title page, but it's only there. It used to be it was on every page of an APA paper. Now it's only on the title page. A page number is on every page, though, and it is up in the header. The title of the article is on the title page. The author's name is a double space down from that. And a double space down from that is your affiliation. And in this case, you are a student at Frostburg State University, therefore Frostburg State University. Now, for student papers, they say things like teacher name and course section and date and such. None of that applies here. That's not. I don't have any issues with potentially confusing or losing papers or anything. And so, because of that, I want this to be straight up as if it is being submitted for publication in a journal, manuscript. Chapter 14 of the Easy Guide has this, but note that it does have some of the special provisions for students. You need to bypass those. So the title page for an APA paper has no date on it, no class number, no professor name, as I was just saying, when it's a professionally produced paper, as this is being thought of for the one you may write in the class. Now, the running head that's on the title page is in the header portion of a paper layout. The header is an area of the paper, the virtual paper and an actual paper, that a lot of people don't think about, but it's like that ½ inch to an inch space at the top. There's a footer also at the bottom, which is similarly about a ½ inch from the very bottom of the piece of paper. These are places where you can insert things that typically go page after page after page after page. You do have a running head on the first page, the title page. You do not have it anywhere else, so you have to use a feature of Microsoft Word called Unique First Page, and you want to make sure that you select that so that your running head can be on that first page but not appear anywhere else for the header anywhere else. Don't use any pre-themed formatting for any header. Make sure you get the typefaces correct in the header. It will default to Calibri, and remember, I want it to all be in Times New Roman 12 point. The running head itself, those words, don't appear anymore. It used to be the words running head appeared in the running head, which was kind of weird, but there it was. No longer. All you do is put the thing that is identified as running head, and it is a short version of the title of the paper, usually a short version because the title is often longer than 50 characters, including spaces. And so because of that, you want to make sure that you shorten it so that it is at most 50 characters, including spaces or other punctuation you may have in it. It is also in all caps, which is a little unusual too. That doesn't mean upper and lowercase. That means all caps, literally, as if what we refer to as shouting in email or in text messaging. Now, the title of your paper on the title page is centered, it's bold, it's several lines from the top of the page. It is the title of your paper, and it's no more than 12 words. It captures the main idea of what the paper is about. That is, you read the title and you have a sense of what the author is going to try to talk about in this paper, what their perspective might be, or whatever it is. Important words are capitalized. This is sometimes referred to as title case. We mentioned that when we were talking about headers a few days ago. The idea is that a title case means the important words are capitalized, minor words are not. And so you have upper and lowercase initial words, initial letters for some of the words. It's precisely the same. The title words are precisely the same title that you use to start your introduction section. They are to be exactly the same, no differences whatsoever allowed. So let me give you some examples of some titles. Remember, one of the key things is 12 words maximum, and occasionally that's relaxed a little bit, but not for our papers, because you've got to learn how to do the basics before you're allowed to come up with ways to deviate, right? These are some examples of papers that are posters that I've presented at conferences. Power and Peril of Wikipedia, Exercises of Social and I/O Psychology. Notice that the major words are capitalized and the minor words such as and, of, in, and such are not. And similarly for all these other examples, then I'll let you pause the video if you want to read on your own. Notice, let's see if there's anything unique to notice in here. There's a colon in one of them, two of them actually. We got a date in one of them. That's a case where a date happens without parentheses, and that's because the title is giving a sense to the reader of what's going on here. Millennial students to pre-1987 students. So imagine that we did a study that showed high anxiety students scored worse on exams in rooms painted red compared to rooms painted blue. I want you to take a few moments, pause the video if you want to, and really think about this. If you try to come up with your own title right now, you're going to have a chance of, you're getting yourself exercised to thinking about how to come up with titles for papers. This is an important thing, and in fact, on your quiz, you're going to need to come up with one. No, I took that exercise out. Okay, but anyway, it is important to know what comprises a good title. And so what you want to show is the relationship between things, maybe the key issue being studied, that kind of thing. So, and we like to avoid cliched phrasings like the effect of, that kind of thing. So we would say something maybe like, since you've had plenty of time to think of one, something like high anxiety students exams scores depends on room color. Something like that. Connected to room's color. I don't know. You need to come up with a title for your paper for the quiz for this APA assignment. I say that, I'm pretty sure I've removed that question though. I don't think that's there now. The purpose of the abstract is to let the reader know the basic perspectives of finding a paper. We're moving on to the abstract from the title page now. It is not an introduction to the paper. You've got to be very clear about that. Students will often try to write it as if it is telling people what the paper, what the initial idea is, and lead them into the paper, you know, kind of like the introductory paragraph. Now, you've got an introductory paragraph in the introduction. The abstract is what you'll find when you read this whole paper in very brief form. It reveals the most essential key points and findings for each of the major sections of the paper. That is, typically you're going to have a sentence or two, maybe three if necessary, for each major subsection of the paper, as much as you can within the limits that are quite stringent for abstracts, though the limits vary greatly from journal to journal. A sentence or two for each major subsection, so one for introduction, one for method, one for the discussion, one for the results, or more sentences if needed. Now, for the paper we're going to do in here, it's a 100-word limit because there's no results section. That's one reason. But the APA used to have a hard 100-word limit. Then they made it a hard, I think it was 150. Then they got rid of any hard limit, simply saying that each journal, recognizing each journal has its own limit. Most journals have limits that are somewhere in the 150 to 250, even occasionally 300 words. Though if you're submitting for a conference, it can be as short as 50 words, and I want to tell you that's hard to do. When the those of us who work together in the department to put something together for a conference presentation, I am the one who's ruthless with words, and I'll come in there and slash it down to get it under 50 words and find ways to say 3 or 4 things in a sentence, and it's messy and ugly, and I'll walk away. And they all say, wow. No, they don't. They say, damn, he didn't care a bit, did he? That's what they say. Now, here's a couple of things about format of the abstract. It is double-spaced too. Remember, everything in a paper is double-spaced. It is written as one single paragraph. There are variations on this out there, though. You look at dissertations and theses, those abstracts can be like 3 and 4 pages long and have like 5 or 6 paragraphs. Of course, the manuscript is, 100, 200, 300 pages or more. I've seen dissertations that were 500 pages. Mine was 128 pages. Everyone's is a little different. My master's thesis was like 60-something pages, if I remember correctly. But it's written as a single paragraph for journal articles. The only paragraph in the paper that is not indented is the abstract. Every single other paragraph in a paper is indented except the abstract. So let's look at an example of the abstract. Let's look at the various things that are talked about in it and how they represent the various portions of the paper. This is an abstract from a paper that I have had published about a decade ago now. And let's see, I'm not going to read through the whole thing now. I'm going to read through it, looking at it from the perspective of how things are being covered for the actual paper. Statements that indicate overall perspective taken, typically this means the introduction. Give a reader an orienting perspective. Basking in reflected glory, then I define it, the tendency to advertise affiliation with successful others, and then a whole bunch of stuff there that's not intro. It's actually something else. But getting down here, there's another bit that is about perspective, applied theories, and so forth, based on application of sociometer theory and self-esteem. That's another little intro piece. Statements about the method. Oh, that first sentence had something about the method in it too. Was examined in the display of 729 political yard signs at 526 addresses in Maryland before and after Election Day 2012. And then the based on application of sociometer theory, Then it indicates some more method stuff embedded in here, indicated by Google searches, indicated by higher density political signs. Then we get to a hypothesis portion. This is after the based on application of sociometer theory. It was predicted that Burge, and that was defined up at the very start of it because it's going to appear several times in this abstract, it's saved words. And saving words in an abstract is vital. It was predicted that Berg effects would only occur for high public profile contests, the method of determining that, and in neighborhoods with relatively higher interest in politics, and the method for attaining that. And then we get to a statement about results. Only one contest showed the Berg effect, that for the U.S. president, which also had the highest public profile. Also for the contest, Berg effects Also, for that context, Berg effects were only seen in higher interest neighborhoods. And then that's results, and then we get to, well, what does it mean? You do want to give someone sense of this having some meaning. These findings confirm Berg effects with political yard signs and helps to resolve differences in previous findings. There's a little bit of intrigue there. That is, wait, there's differences in previous findings? Well, you'll have to read the paper to see what that is. And that's all there is to this thing. We have abstract and title page. These are the main points. They have unique characteristics, hence its own lesson. You have a quiz, and it has a due date that'll be on Canvas for you. Thanks for your attention. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.